Welcome back, viewers at home. Now, we've heard it from, your radios, your TV stations about William Smith, who has passed away at the age of 85 after a short battle with cancer. Following the news of his passing, tributes for South Africa's favorite teacher continue to pour in. Best known as the television tutor, his lessons reached millions of students who benefited from the quality instruction they received in maths as well as science. William Smith is also the founder of Star Schools, which is, or to this day, provides quality education for millions of students. For more on that, I am joined by the executive chairman of Star Schools, who goes by the name of Roger Briggs, to share with us the legacy of the late William Smith. Good evening, Mr. Briggs. Welcome to INX Prime.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, hearing about such a very honorable, remarkable individual, can you tell us a bit about your encounter and experiences of William Smith?
Well, it goes back to around about 1992 when I first met him. I was contacted at that stage. I was involved in private schooling in Johannesburg, and I was contacted by a person who knew William well, and William had told him he was either going to close Star Schools down or wanted to sell it. And there was a group of businessmen who were prepared to buy it, and they felt I would be the right person to run the place. So I had a meeting with William and his wife Jenny, and things moved from there. And by March '93, the consortium had bought Star Schools from William. He stayed on until the end of '93, and I worked with him. So I worked closely with him to learn what Star Schools was all about. Moved in permanently in March of that year, and then in January '94 took over. But William remained on under contract for 2 years. So we spent a lot of time together. Experiences with him, he didn't run any programs where he couldn't be personally present. That was his motto. If I can't be there, nothing is going to happen. That has changed over the years. William, I can only say he was an absolutely brilliant teacher. He just had this rapport with children. They weren't children. I mean, he was teaching high school teenagers, so let me not call them children, young adults. And he just had this rapport where he could connect with them and get them to understand difficult concepts. Now, I see in the introduction you mentioned he taught maths and science. William taught science. He didn't teach maths.
Oh, okay.
There was also something, if I may correct it.
Please.
You've got me as executive chairman of Star Schools. I am still a director, but I retired a couple of years ago, and we do have an executive chairperson. So, but I'm the only one at Star Schools who knew William and actually worked and met him and worked with him. So, but not an easy person. He was a tough business person and didn't stand for any nonsense from anybody. So if you got on the wrong side of him, you found out very quickly that he wasn't a happy chappy. So,
Yeah, now seeing that, when we look at, as you said, he was such an incredible tutor. I mean, I'm seeing here it says he made it quite simple to understand, and he also incorporated at times the idea of smarties. Now, in your opinion, what do you believe would be his legacy?
William, on one occasion, said to me, he wanted to be the most well-known face in South Africa. And that's, of course, when he had started the TV channel. His legacy? Well, I'll give you an example. Shortly before I came to the studio this afternoon, I was in a shop. I've got to know the shop attendant, manager, over a number of years. And he said to me, "Did you hear William Smith has passed away?" He said, "I cried the whole of last night because that man got me through matric." That's his legacy, that he's for many, many people. You may or may not know that part of what we do is known as the Rewrite School, where we take youngsters who've not done well. They may have passed matric or they may have failed. And we reintroduce them into the schooling system, give them tuition, and they then rewrite their matric exam and they can upgrade their certificate. Now, William started that in 1986 after the riots and when the schools had closed in Soweto. He got together with Agri Claster. Dr. Claster, whom I met and got to know as well, had this concept of these youngsters have had no schooling. What can we do? They're going to fail their matric exam, even if they write it. If they don't, what can we do to help them get through next year, because they can't go back to school? And he and William put the concept of a rewrite school together, bearing in mind that it was still serious apartheid years. They persuaded the Minister of Education and the Minister of Finance to give them permission to set up a school where youngsters could rewrite their matric exam and through the education department. So we did the tuition, but they actually write the national matric exam, which they still do today.
Wow.
We have the largest number of youngsters writing maths. Over the last couple of years, it's been about 1,500 simultaneously.
Wow.
And when other schools hear, they say, "We've got 200 and we don't know how to cope." So, but that's also part of his legacy. He did say to me around about 96, "I think you should close the rewrite school down." And I said, "No way." And Dr. Claster still said to me, he said, why is it going to be needed now with the new education department? We won't have any failures. And I said, "Dr. Claster, it's going to take quite a while for us to right the wrongs of the past." Sadly, the rewrite school is becoming more select and smaller because there are fewer youngsters, but there's still, we got figures the other day from a senior member at the education department. There were still over 80,000 youngsters here in Gauteng alone who needed to rewrite. Now, I haven't validated those figures, but they come from a reliable source. So there is a need for us, and that goes back to what he started all that time ago. And I think about it, 86, and in 2 years' time, it'll be what, 50 years?
Wow.
86, 96, 206, 216, 26, it'll be 50 years. That's quite a legacy.
It is quite a legacy.
And, we've managed to keep it going. He did say to me, also around about 1996, "I don't think you're going to make it. You're not going to succeed with Star Schools. It'll close down." I've been with Star Schools 31 years. So I would have loved to have had a chance to rub that in. But I didn't know that he'd gone to Australia until some friends of ours did a boat trip around the Turkish coastline with him and his wife. They knew them, and they said, "Are you aware that he has moved to Australia and he's living in Australia?" Total surprise. But I did lose touch with him. He went his way and we went ours.
Now, you know, when we look at the education sector, currently there are certain challenges that, you know, educators face, students face, maybe in terms of, you know, learning and grasping the syllabus itself. And I believe, just looking back at Mr. William Smith, who was the first person to actually do a TV program that was educating individuals on, you know, best understanding science. In your view, what made it such a success?
it's making me go back quite a long time now. It was reaching out to a large number of learners who desperately needed a quality of education that they were not being exposed to in the school system. We have run programs, we call it an incubator school. We take youngsters at grade 10 level and we run them through to matric, and it's all based on the program that he started as a Saturday school with the winter school added in and the pre-exam and revision sessions. The whole thing was designed by him. We took it and we put it into a box called an incubator school, and we run it different places around the country. We're down in Malalaan, we've got one up in Kuruman, Free State, Eastern Cape. We've got several in the Western Cape, quite a few here in Gauteng, Mpumalanga. The results coming out of those incubator schools, where we put top quality teachers into the classroom on a Saturday morning with these youngsters. And given that we've got 3 years to bring them up to scratch, the results we get at matric level are spectacular.
Now, Mr. Briggs, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I just want to give it to you to say any few words of closing before I close off the conversation.
I think education is poorer. For William, not having been involved for a long time, the fact that he is now gone, I don't know where the family is. I presume his wife is in Australia. And just to send our very best wishes and condolences from Star Schools. I would have loved to have had a chance to say goodbye to him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Briggs, for coming in and being vulnerable with us and sharing your experiences with Mr. William Smith that a lot of people probably didn't even get a chance to experience what an incredible individual he was. Thank you.
He was exceptional and very individual.
Viewers at home, that's where we close it off, and I think our deepest, sincerest condolences go off to, Mr. William Smith's family. We pray that God is with them through this hard time and grant them strength to, heal over their loss of the loved one. That's where we close it off for now. Let's take an ad break. See you when we come back.